This show is a part of the Quite the Thing Media Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to Gamers Watch Season 2, Episode 7. As always, I am Shaun, and with me...
Episode 23.
So, yeah, overall.
Continuity.
Season 2, Episode 7.
Yeah, but I said last time 22.
Alright, well, it's 23 now.
There we go. Great intro as always.
Season 2, Episode 7. I'm Shaun.
I'm Harry. Hello. What a shit show.
Moving swiftly on, buy our merch.
Yes. Yeah, buy our merch.
Remember to put it in this time.
Yes. How would you find our merchandise, Shaun?
You can find it, as well as links to everything else Gamers Watch, on Linktree, which is linktr.ee/GamersWatchPodcast. So you can find all our socials on there as well.
And our merch, which you need to buy. Well, there's a Michael Jackson School for the Mute graduation shirt on there. Why wouldn't you want to buy that? There's a individual handful of peas shirt on there. Why wouldn't you want to buy that? There's Get a Fucking Life on a shirt. Why wouldn't you want to buy that?
And we've only got one sale at the moment, and that's Harry.
It's me. Yeah.
Bought our own merch.
Well, I wanted to. Shut up. I'm going to be repping that merch.
We don't even have video content yet. Can't even see
Not
it.
yet. No, we'll get there. We'll get there eventually.
Anyway.
Now, for anyone that is still listening to this, please share this podcast with a friend.
Yes.
Please.
And who are we going to do this week?
I reckon
your local Sunday League
merchant.
Referee.
No, your local merchant.
But this is Euros.
Oh, is it? I don't
Yeah,
know.
that would have started now. It started before the last episode aired.
Yeah, share this with your local referee.
Yeah, and give him a
Good
shit.
shout.
And tell him to buy better merch.
It's coming home. So,
if we're not out already.
Yeah.
Also, if my head calculated it right, this is the last day to vote for us in the Quite the Thing Podcast Awards.
Let me work it out.
June the 19th.
Yes. I don't know why, but I just got my calculator out for some reason.
9
yes.
plus 7 plus...
June the 19th. So if you're listening to this on the day that this episode has launched, then please do vote for us on the Quite the Thing Media Gaming and Technology Podcast. It does mean a lot to us because we did, silly old us, we went and declared a few weeks ago that we had to win it and there was no way that we wouldn't win it. So yeah.
Also,
please vote for us.
We need another demand for it because now that when this one airs, my birthday will have come and gone, and I now have an Xbox wireless headset. So we need a new demand.
Okay, so I want a signed chainsaw dildo.
I want a signed Phil Spencer.
A signed Phil Spencer.
just him plonked on my door with his signature on his forehead.
Anyone's signature or Phil's signature?
No,
it'll be your signature as you signed for him.
It'll be my signature.
Because you got signed for him. Oh, God.
It'll go nicely in the corner of the sitting room.
Oh, my God. Fuck me.
What's
my
it going to be
cat's
this
here
time?
as well. My cat. Jesus. Hang on. Fucking Christ.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God. So, yeah, again, to all our new listeners, this is our level.
This is the Cats Watch podcast. Still better than Cats.
Yeah, it is, yeah. Who wants to see Helen Mirren lick her butthole? Oh, hang on a second, Shaun. I've got to let this cat out. You just... Tell you what, game in 60 seconds. Shaun, explain. What's game in 60 seconds? Go, go, go.
Okay, so for the several hundred people we've somehow gained over the past few weeks, Game in 60 Seconds is a segment where we have to try and describe a game with either a riddle or wordplay or what have you. But it never takes 60 seconds. It's literally just because we like Nicolas Cage and the film Gone in 60 Seconds. So we called it Game in 60 Seconds.
Yeah, it's like Gone in 3.5 seconds.
Yeah, and Gone is literally what our minds are when we're thinking of these.
Yes.
They're terrible.
So, Shaun, what was your... Also, just to let people know, I am currently 2 pints of Stella down. So if I get a bit belligerent at the end of this episode, it's not my fault. It's the alcohol's fault. So Shaun's sober. He's drinking water.
Yeah, normally I have something.
Yeah, which is going to be weird because this is going to be the drunk cast, but only I'm going to be a bit drunk. So a bit of an odd one, that. So what was your game in 60 seconds clue last week, Sean?
Last week it was the poor soul should have known not to leave the house in June with ginger hair like that.
And I bleeped this one out last week. And
You bleeped out
doesn't
me
make
telling you
sense
the
to me.
answer. How does it not make sense?
It just doesn't. Sean, what is the answer?
It is Dead by Daylight.
No, it's stupid.
Yeah, because ginger people burn up in the sun like instantly. So he went out of the
So do
house in
vampires.
June.
You could have said it about vampires.
Yeah, but it wasn't as fun.
Okay, yeah. It's not as fun if you're not, I don't know, insulting a minority of people.
And vampires gives away the dead bit a bit too easy. So he
Yeah,
went
I
out
guess
in the
so.
sun in June and Dead by Daylight.
I mean, mine wasn't any better, was it?
No, yours was worse.
That Spice Girls got her own TV programme. Or, the other one that I said was Heskey's Got Honey on the TV. So
Fucking
that
hell.
is MLB The Show,
Oh,
which is amazing.
no, it's worse than FIFA 21.
So, Mel B is one of the Spice Girls, right? Mel B. She's got her own TV programme, Mel B The Show. MLB The Show, right? Other way it works, Heskey's first name is Emil. He's got honey, so he's Emil B. And it's on the TV, like a TV show, Emil B The Show. Both of those clues are fantastic, and I am the lord of clues.
They're the worst ones yet.
So there we go. So yeah, that's last week's Game in 60 Seconds. What is your clue this week, Sean? Because I said my clue a minute ago and now I've forgotten it.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Is this going to be where you suddenly get it again as I'm about to say mine?
I've literally just remembered what it was. So you go and then I'll do mine after.
Okay. Mine is, I always feel so empty when the sun sets. I always feel so empty when the sun sets. That's it.
Okay. And I don't know what that one is either. I'm trying to work this one out at the moment. No, don't know. Not a clue. That's just, I'm giving up now. So I'll ask you afterwards. I'm not even going to try and guess that one. My one's really good, isn't it, Sean?
It's better than MLB The Show.
Well, debatable. My one is that Canadian rapper, he's got nothing inside him. That Canadian rapper has got nothing inside him. Brilliant clue. Really spot on clue. Probably a bit obvious, but I'm pretty happy with that one.
It depends if
So,
you know your Canadian rappers or not.
Yeah, if you get the second clue, you've probably got the entire one. Now, just to let you know, my one is a Game Pass game. Sean, is yours a Game Pass game?
Yeah, mine's Game Pass.
So you've only got a selection of like 400 games to go through. So it's not going to be that difficult.
Oh,
It'll be
am it?
1 in 400 chance.
Nah, mate, let me have a check. I'm just going on to GamePassCounter.com. 415 games you got to choose from.
415 games through GamePassCounter.com. Okay, fair enough. Now, speaking of Game Pass, Sean, what an amazing segue.
I know.
Should we talk about Game Pass or Play?
I think we should.
Now, what did I get you to play, Sean?
You got me to play Final Fantasy X.
Yes.
Because I've
And
never
I
played
Knockout
it
City.
before.
No, you've only ever played Fluid Combat Final Fantasies, haven't you?
Yeah, I played 15. Not when it first came out. It was a little while after. That was the first Final Fantasy I ever played. And then I've played Final Fantasy VII Remake as well.
Yeah. So I was playing Knockout City this past 2 weeks. Now, I feel like one of these games we're going to talk about a bit more than the other.
Yeah.
Yeah. Knockout City, didn't enjoy it.
I know. Every Game Pass or Play section where it's the games we pick for each other, yours starts with either, didn't play it, or, didn't like it.
Here's the thing, right? It's a good game, and I'm going to give it a gameplay, right? Because it's a new IP, and it is genuinely a good idea for a game. However, my problem is that every time I got into a game, within 30 seconds you knew if you were going to win or not.
Okay.
So if you were in, because it's only 3v3, if you were in a team and the other two people didn't want to stick together and work as a team, you were fucked. And there was no point in you playing it.
Yeah.
Very simple mechanics, looks really nice. When you're in a good game with 6 people and they're all doing what needs to be done, it was spectacularly fun. My issue is that was maybe 5% of the games that I played.
Yeah.
Very satisfying. I love the little ping noise that it makes when you throw the dodgeball at someone's face. But yeah, I don't really know how much I can say about this game other than it was quite underwhelming and I didn't really enjoy it that much.
So basically, your typical multiplayer online game, only play if you've got friends that you're playing with.
Yeah, if you've got 2 other people that you want to play it with, absolutely, I would recommend it. And I know that Duncan, who is going to be back on the show, by the way, just teasing that one, Duncan is going to be back with us shortly. He's been absolutely loving it, and I've been watching some of his clips, and he's like absolutely having, excuse the pun, having a ball with it. But I just didn't really get it. Just didn't enjoy it that much. And it was mainly because of the people I was playing with were just shite at it like I was. It felt like every game I got into, there was always one person who was a lot better than everyone else. And if you weren't on his team, yeah, you were going to lose horrendously. So
bit of a Rocket League then.
Yeah, just. And I don't like Rocket League either. So it was just Rocket League with dodgeball, basically. Now, Shaun, it's currently 10 to 11.
Yep.
Do you think we're going to finish talking about Final Fantasy X before midnight?
Probably not if we had our way.
Yeah. So I'm going to be honest, Shaun. I was very worried that you weren't going to like Final Fantasy X. It's a 20-year-old game. The voice acting isn't always great.
Our age don't make a difference to me. I'll go for the older ones.
It's got turn-based combat that I didn't know if you would dig. I know that sort of the first day you started playing it, you messaged me like, what the hell is going on in this story? And I just said, just stay with it. I gave you a quick explanation and told you just to stay with it. I went on last night and I've been playing it as well, which is another reason why I've not really played Knockout City, because it's not that fun and I wanted to play a game that was fun. And you've put close to 25, 30 hours in. You enjoying it, Shaun?
Yeah, you could say that. It's not even that I've put close to 25, 30 hours in. It's that I've put close to 25, 30 hours in the past like 4 or 5 days because I had to play Narita Boy first.
Yes,
So,
you made the right choice, because I played Final Fantasy and then was like, oh shit, the kids.
yeah.
I had to play Narita Boy.
Yeah, if I started Final Fantasy either before Narita Boy or while playing Narita Boy, I wouldn't have finished Narita Boy.
No.
And
now,
I can see me
talk about Final
I can
Fantasy
see me
10,
struggling to fit Maneater in.
Before we talk about Final Fantasy X, now we have to play Maneater as our wild card.
Yep.
However, I know that you want to keep playing Final Fantasy X, so I'm going to tell you the game that I want you to play now, so that we can then just talk about Final Fantasy X, all right?
Okay.
Now, the game that I want you to play is called The Little Acre.
Oh, okay, that's the one that Duncan talked about a little while ago.
Yes, however, very, very cleverly, that game is only about 2 hours long.
Oh, really?
So about 2 or 3 hours long, 2 sit-ins, you're done, and then you're back to Final Fantasy X, all right?
And Maneater, which is 30 hours long.
So I've specifically picked a game for you so that you can keep playing Final Fantasy, and I'm going to be doing that for the next few weeks, all right?
Yeah, because I've got a feeling I'm going to be playing it for quite a while. The only thing...
Now, can we talk about Final Fantasy X, Shaun?
Yeah.
Because Final Fantasy X is my favourite Final Fantasy game. It was the first one I ever played. And I've played 10, 9, 8, 7, 4, which is also very good but very different. And I've played 13 and 15. I've not played 7 Remake, but 10 is my favourite. Please talk to me, Shaun, about Final Fantasy X.
I don't know where to start, really. It's just really good.
It's just great, isn't it? It's just really good.
It's fun. The combat isn't like overly hard at first. I mean, I've got to a point, the past couple of areas, there's been times where I've actually started like getting wiped out by someone. I've been like, well, I better actually use some tactics here. But all the way up until that, I don't know whether I was just getting lucky with like the setups I was using, but I could pretty much sort of figure it out within the first 2 turns, sort of how to deal with them. But it's just so fun. Definitely. And I really... So, what was your favourite party characters to use? So my favourite is Waka, Yuna, and Auron. Oh. They were my 3 favourite. See, my 3 go-to are Waka, just because I said to you the first like hour or so I was playing it, and it's still true to this day. My favourite thing about this game is that his attack is just pinging a ball at someone's head. Yes. It's just the sound effect as well it makes is just hilarious. Yeah. And, so I use him, Auron, because for some reason he hits like double damage than anyone else does. And, very slow though. Yeah, I mean he still gets like a turn in most of the time.
if I'm Tidus, I always use haste and I speed Auron up loads just so I can like get him to get the first shot in and try and critical, or if it's a boss that has like the Sinspawn GUI that had the arms that you had to destroy, I would like haste Auron up for the first like 3 turns so that he would have 2 strikes before the monster did.
Yeah.
But yeah, Auron is great.
But yeah, I'd use him, Waka, and Lulu most of the time, just because I love magic characters in RPGs.
Now, one of my favourite things about Final Fantasy X is the combat itself is really fluid. And I know that sounds strange for a turn-based game, but the fact that you can instantly change characters out and you can sort of adjust your tactics on the fly and change things up. So one of the things... Look, Ronso isn't my favourite character. However, he's got really high HP, and one of his starting stats is that he can work out enemy weaknesses. So when I can see that maybe I've not got Yuna out, or maybe both a couple of the summons that she has are knocked out, I can bring Ronso in with high HP and have Waka, Aaron, and Ronso just there to like absorb the hits while I sort of build some time up and maybe build up an overdrive. I think the overdrive as well brings something very cool to the game.
Yeah, I like how they're interactive as well.
Yes, I
do
love that.
The Tiduses, where you have to stop the bar in the middle, that's the only one I've struggled with.
See, the Lulu one I struggle with.
Well, the rotating the right stick.
Yeah.
I just literally jam the right stick into my palm and just spin my palm really fast. That's how I do it.
But I was genuinely worried that you wouldn't really like this game, and it was... I remember getting your message like, what is going on with this story? Because for me, my favourite thing about this game is the story. I love it.
I'm loving the story, don't get me wrong, but it's not really spoilerish, and it's like a 20-year-old game, like you said.
It's a 20-year-old game.
Yeah, I'll just say it. It was what threw
Snape
me off.
kills Dumbledore.
What threw me off was that he said about travelling 1,000 years into the future, and then literally about 2 sentences or like about 10 minutes later, everyone started talking about stuff that happened 10 years ago. So I was like, was the 1,000-year thing like a typo, or did I miss something, or is it something that's just not explained yet? So that's why I messaged you like, what's happening?
That does become a bit clearer as the game goes on, and it's all about the difference between Zanarkand and Dream Zanarkand, and the cycle periods of sin and how Spira is sort of formed, and all that stuff does tie in really well as the game moves on.
Yeah, I haven't. None of that's been explained in the slightest yet. Still, where I'm at, but
yeah, because you just told me before we recorded, like I've got to this bit of the game, and I was like, "Oh, so you're about halfway through," and you were like, "Huh? Sorry."
It felt well because of how quickly the story's now like picking up. In the past few hours, I thought like, oh, it's ramping up to like the 3rd act. Not like I was near the end. I thought there'd still be a good like 10-15 hours in it. But I'm 25 hours in now, so if I'm halfway, I've still got 25 hours to go. The
minimum time to complete the game, realistically, with no sort of like side objectives or any of the hidden summons found, is about 50 to 55 hours.
Fucking hell.
Yeah. Now, can you imagine, right? So you'll probably remember on Besaid Island when you first meet Yuna and Lulu and Waka, and you're walking up a cliff face, and then Ronso comes and attacks you.
Yeah, yeah.
Can you imagine being... Well, I was 9 years old when I first played it. Looking at that and thinking, graphics can't get any better than that. Like... I still have, when I got to that part, and it's only about 2 hours into the game, but when I got to that part of the game, I had this like wave of nostalgia like sort of sweep over me. And we talked about it a little bit in the last episode with Narita Boy, and I posted a picture about it actually on Twitter, about the difference between art direction and graphics, because it is an outdated looking game. However, there's so much care and attention put into everything. So every character, the way they look, before you hear Waka speak, you know what he's going to sound like. You know the character he's going to be. When you first see Yuna do her, well, as Tidus calls it, her dancing, it builds pictures of characters without any words having to be said. And some of the backdrops in the game are absolutely stunning. I checked before recording. Do you want to know how many screenshots I've taken in my 15 hours of playing so far?
How many?
300.
Wow, what?
I can't stop. It's such a pretty game.
Bloody hell.
Yeah, I just keep, like, there's just shots just before the Chocobo Eater appears and you're on the cliff face and they've got the sun set in and you've got the ocean in the background and everything about that scene is just so well put together, from the dialect and the dialogue and the, I'm going to say set design, because they did design the set. Everything about it was just stunning, and there's so many moments of like standout points in that game that just, even to this day, blow my mind. Like the first time you see Sin in Dreams Anakin, where he is this giant amorphous ball, and it goes into the sort of like pre-rendered CGI cutscenes. I love that stuff. So
that was
good.
another thing that confused me, because he gets sucked into like the big ball thing, and then the next time you see Sin, he's a fish.
Yes. That makes sense later on, don't worry. Yeah.
And I think the only party character as well that I haven't been able to not figure out but not utilise properly is Riku. Like using the items. I have barely any items that seem to have any difference.
I think that's my only issue with Riku, is that you get her far too late into the game when you've already established play styles with all the other characters.
Yeah, I'm so used to like a certain way of using each character now that she's always seems to get left to the side unless there's like an enemy I'm about to beat and I'm like, oh shit, I haven't brought her in to get ability points for her yet.
So how did you feel the levelling up was? With the sphere grid?
What, like the actual sphere grid itself?
Yeah, how did you find sort of like navigating it and working out what to do?
When I first saw it, I was like, what the fuck is this thing?
It's massively overwhelming, isn't it?
But literally 2 minutes of like just sort of looking around the grid and that, you get used to it, sort of thing. You know that each character's starting in an area where it's going to level up what they need leveling up. And then as you get towards like leveling up all the bits they need, you can sort of break away and do different bits if you want. But I like how it's not... So like, even though each character's going to naturally level up what they need, you can also just completely change what they are. So like the...
Yeah, so I can almost guarantee that 15 hours into the game, my Tidus and your Tidus would not be the same.
I think, because this is my first playthrough of it, I've sort of stuck them mostly to the default sort of paths. The only one that I've completely gone away from is... what's his name? Kamari.
The Ronso, yeah.
Because his path was sort of leading me towards this melee person. And I already had Auron and Waka who were doing like loads of physical damage. So now he's gone down like Lulu and Yuna's path, and he's got the like, is it Curaga? He's got that before Yuna's even got it.
I've never even thought of going that way.
Yeah, you have to wait. Like there's a bit where you'll get to where you need to get a level 2 key sphere, and I think I was there for a good like 2 hours. So everyone else was still upgrading, and he was just sort of stuck there waiting. But once obviously you get the level 2 key sphere, you just unlock it, and then he just blitzes through it, gets Curaga and like Dispel and all these magic stuff. And obviously because
that changes, mate. I've never thought of doing that with him.
Yeah, because his normal path.
I've played this game 3 times. And I've never thought of going that route.
His like normal like starting area on the sphere grid as well has like MP and magic upgrades. So he just becomes an absolute...
It sets him up.
He becomes an absolute magic tank.
Yeah, I've never even thought of that. Because, to be fair, I don't play with Lulu a lot, because further down the game, you can do black magic with Yuna.
Yeah, I haven't unlocked black magic for Yuna yet.
And when you get black magic for Yuna, it changes a lot of things. But, man, Ronso the Magician, I like that. See, mate, I bet 20 years this game has been part of my life, and I've played it multiple times, and I've never thought to do that.
Yeah, I must admit, I still don't use him that much. He's mainly a backup, so like
a support character.
Yeah, so like if I get too cocky and then something one-shots Yuna, and I'm like, fuck, I just quickly bring him in to like to kill them. Or there's the one part that I've just come out of. You have to do the whole section without having Yuna on your team. So if I hadn't given him Curaga, I would have been fucked. Because I got so cocky in the desert with what was the creature? There was one called Zoo, like ZU, and it was just a giant bird. And that pissed me off. And then there was these...
That's where Waka comes in, though. Waka with the throwy balls.
Yeah, but he doesn't do like enough damage to quickly... It's still like a good 6 to 7 turns to kill it.
Yeah.
So if you don't have a healer, you either burn through items, like nothing, or you just get wiped out. But then there was those seed bomb things, which I hated as well, because every move they do would confuse one of your party members, so they'd just attack themselves or one of your other members.
It's like obviously a lot further before, but just before you get to the Chocobo Eater, and you've got those fire sprites.
Yeah,
I remember, and they do self-explode, they do self-destruct.
Yeah, if you hit them 3 times and then.
However, one of the things that I found out on my 4th playthrough is that Ifrit, the summon, he gets healed if he's hit by fire.
Yeah, they do that for whatever element they are. So like on the Seymour battle, when he brings out Enigma, I use Shiva, and basically if you do. Oh fuck! What's the ice move called? Blizzara or whatever it's called. If you do that,
it was Blizzard and then Blizzara,
if you do that on her, it heals her.
Yeah. See, I realised that you could do it on yourself, but I didn't realise that attacks that were done. So So I never, like, I'm going to be honest. When I played it the first couple of times, I didn't really utilise summons that much because I liked having the 3 party characters to sort of chop and change between, and then I would use the summons if it was like a particularly difficult boss.
Yeah.
Or I was reluctant to really use them that much. But this playthrough, I'm using my summons as much as I possibly can, just to level Yuna up as much as I can, because I really want to get her to the black magic stage. But yeah, I realised that the fire sprites heal my Ifrit, and I felt like a bit of a mug realising that on my 4th playthrough.
See, I keep forgetting to use summons, I must admit, until it gets like a boss fight. I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake, I can use that. But for the fire sprites and that, I think that's why I started using Lulu a lot, because she just destroys them. And also with loads of elemental ones, I just use the null moves with Yuna. Yeah. So it just doesn't do anything to you.
Yeah, see, I've got a friend of mine who got me into FF10, and he used to purely run Yuna, Lulu, and Tidus. And he used to just be magic the entire way through. He did not use physical attacks, and I could never get my head around it. And he just completely overpowered Lulu and Yuna to the point where they would just like one hit almost anything they came across.
Yeah.
And so I've been trying to use Lulu a lot more in my run, but I always find myself with Auron just kicking fucking ass. Because he is just my favourite character.
He's insane. There's so many times where like Tidus will hit for like 200. He seems the most...
And he'll be like 600.
Yeah, he'll be like 600 to 1,000. But Tidus seems really inconsistent for me as well. I don't know why. Like sometimes he'll hit for 200, and then other times it'll be like 700. And I'll be like, oh, do that again, 200.
Tidus is a character that benefits massively from the sphere grid later on in the game.
Right.
And for me, it goes quite well with his story, because actually, you might not know, but he's only 17.
Oh, okay.
Throughout this game. And so this game, the story of Final Fantasy X is sort of a coming of age for him. So it's sort of like Stand By Me, but with monsters and swords. So as you progress through the game, and obviously there's the feelings he has for Yuna, and there's the rejection he feels from Jecht, and there's the sort of father figure that he finds in Auron, and there's the brother that he finds in Waka, and the sort of the mother figure that Lulu acts. It's all of those powers sort of combine that his story progresses as his sort of abilities do. And so the further you get on in the game, the more powerful he gets as he becomes more of this figure that Jecht wanted him to be. And that's one of the sort of like back plots behind this game that I love so much. I am so glad you like this game.
I think the only thing...
You can probably tell that I quite like it too.
Yeah, I think the only thing that I can see happening is that obviously once I complete it, there will be other games we need to play for the podcast, but I know how much content there is post-game for Final Fantasy games. So I'm going to be like, I wish I could still do that. So I might have to return to it at a later date to do all the like secret Aeons and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, for me, Final Fantasy X is one of the most well-rounded games really ever. And when you start to pick more into the story, there's so much lore that isn't even described in the game through novels and through... there's obviously the end-of-game cutscene as well that is part of the HD collection. And there is 10.2, and I don't like 10.2 that much, but it is a continuation of the story. So yeah, there's a lot more to dig into Final Fantasy X wise, and there's some amazing videos on YouTube, like 6-hour long dissertations of every single character's backstory.
Bloody hell.
Yeah, and yeah, Spira is a world that I can just drop myself into and lose myself in. It's just a beautifully crafted game, and yeah, Game Pass or Play, Shaun?
Oof.
I'm going to say it now. If you have Game Pass, play this game now.
If you haven't played it, obviously, many times before.
Yeah, and even if you have, just enjoy it again because it still holds up.
Yeah.
So it's a gameplay?
Definitely gameplay, yeah. One of the strongest gameplays of Gamers Watch, I'd say.
That's possibly my favourite segment we've ever recorded.
I think the whole episode so far has basically just been Final Fantasy talk.
Yeah, well, you're going to play The Little Acre next. What am I playing, Shaun?
I stuck on the road of newer games to Game Pass, but
okay.
I'm going to take a sentence out of your dictionary, I guess, and say, okay. I really think you'll like this one this time.
Go for it.
You're going to play Mech Warrior 5.
Yes! I've already got it downloaded, so yes.
Course.
Get that game into my veins.
Mech Warrior 5.
Oh, man. I mean, I like Mech Warrior 1 through 4.
See, I'd never heard of them before you said... I think it was a few weeks ago, wasn't it, when they first said it was coming to Game Pass?
Yeah.
I'd never heard of it before.
And then did you watch the trailer and were like, oh my God, that
I looked at it on Game Pass as well and looked at all the screenshots. I was like, yeah, I can see me liking this.
Yeah, pretty tasty. So just to reiterate, I'm going to be playing a game about giant mechanized warrior combat machines destroying each other in a post-apocalyptic nightmare hellscape. And you're going to be playing an Irish point-and-click game where you go to a magical pixie land.
Yep.
Bring it on. So,
and Final Fantasy.
We're going to move away from games just for a second, because last episode, so episode 21
overall,
was it? We brought back the sort of personal stories, and you talked about how you insulted a man
because he sounded like Mr. Bean.
I told everyone about Bobby Bellsniff, and then how Shannon crashed my car and saved my life. Now, I was at work a few days ago, and the maintenance man, Martin, who doesn't listen to the show, so shout out to Martin, he doesn't listen. He just told a story that just utterly killed
Tickled
me.
you pink, did it?
It tickled me pink. It's not very long. It's only about
what is that from
3 or 4 minutes. It's
Tickle
the
me
bloke
pink.
who's like, this motherfucker, he's got the windows down.
Oh yeah, that's it.
He got the roof down, and he said, lock the door.
Tickle me pink.
Tickle me pink. He told me
That's
the
another
story.
show.
It's only a couple of minutes long, but yeah, Tickle Me Pink, and it's only available in pink. Pink. And yeah, this story just fucking killed me. It's not very long, and it's pretty gruesome.
Oh, okay.
So, Martin went to Westlands, and we went to Westlands.
We did indeed.
But he went to Westlands before it was the Westlands that we went to at Westlands.
Right.
And he is probably in his late 50s, so he wasn't around at the same time.
So he really went to Westlands before it was our Westlands.
However, he did have one of the same teachers as us. So
I'm trying to think of the old ones. Mr. Ashton?
It was Miss Ashton. Miss Ashton and Mr. Ashton, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so he had the Ashtons teach him, and so did we.
Fucking hell.
There we go, got a common link. And he was telling me about a time that he was playing hockey at school, and he used to get in a few scraps, and one of the things that they told him to do was to get his aggression out through sport, because this was the 60s, and they didn't give a shit about kids back then. I could smack my kid round the face, bloody PC gone mad, can't even fucking strangle my own child these days. PC gone mad.
What can I use this bloody cane for now?
Yeah, what am I supposed to use my fucking slippers for these days, eh? So he got told, go and join the hockey club. You can rough a few people up, you can get some of your aggression out. One of the rules of hockey, though, you can't have your stick above your shoulder, can you?
No, for very clear reasons.
That is a boo-boo. Can't do that. So, he was playing hockey one day and he was swinging his stick about and he got told off and got told, look, stop swinging your stick about. You got to keep it below your head, all right?
Pull your pants up.
Yeah. I don't think it's that sort of story, mate. And so this ball gets walloped really hard and it's going just at head height. And Martin has this decision to make. Does he put his stick up to like protect his face or does he sort of like just move out of the way and hope for the best? And so he moves out of the way of this ball that's flying at head level. And as he moves out of the way, he just hears this massive in the background and then a really loud scream from the kid behind him.
Oh, okay.
And he turns around and the kid's eye is hanging out of his face.
What?
Yeah. So it hit his eye socket and fractured his eye socket and it peeled his eyelid off of his face.
Oh.
And his eye had slumped out of his face. So this kid's like holding his eye in his hand and he's screaming, there's blood everywhere, and they lie him down and they pop his eye back in. And it was like a whole big thing. And they had to send the kid to the hospital and he had to have like his eyelids stitched back onto his face. And now as part of this, he had to wear this eye patch. But he also was like really blind. Like he couldn't see very well and had to wear glasses.
Well, yeah, his eye came out.
And no, I mean, he just generally had bad eyesight before this.
Oh, okay.
So he had to wear this eye patch, but he couldn't wear his glasses and his eye patch at the same time. So he was just sort of this blind kid with an eye patch and like a busted up face. But the problem with that is the day that he had his face smashed in, he cycled to school and left his bike there.
Right.
And he couldn't ride his bike. He couldn't ride his bike because he was blind, basically. So what happened over the next few months is horrendously bad, Shaun.
Oh, no.
So Martin said that one day after school, his bike chain snapped. But there was a bike there, just sat there. This beautiful brand new bike with this blind kid. And he couldn't ride it. What was he going to do with it? So he thought, you know what I'll do? I'll just take the bike chain off. I'll just take the bike chain off. It'll be fine. But then the next day, some other kid got a puncture. But there's a blind... He can't ride his bike. He's blind. So then they'll just take the tyre off.
Oh, my God.
And then another kid's brakes went. And so they just took the brakes off. You know, he's blind. He can't ride his bike. And over the space of 6 weeks, several children stole a blind kid's bike.
Oh, my God.
But in multiple journeys, like the chain went, and then the wheels went, and then the brakes went, and then they were like, oh, the handlebars, I could do with those. And then it just got to the point where some kid just took his seat. He just wanted the seat, didn't even have a bike, and he just unscrewed his seat and walked off with it. And Martin told me that after 6 weeks, all that was left was the frame.
Just imagine this blind kid, like, going into school, like, 8 a.m, like, oh, I can finally put my glasses back on now that this eye patch is off. Just puts it on.
I can finally ride my bike home.
There's a frame on some cinder blocks.
The only way I could describe it is that they dumb and dumbered him. Like when they give him the bird with the head strapped onto it, they did that with his bike.
Oh, that's amazing. It would have been even better if they replaced his, like, the parts they took, they replaced with their own parts. So he just looks and it's
Yeah.
tries to ride it and it's got a puncture, so it's wobbling everywhere. Goes down the hill to his house and he's like, "Fuck, my brakes aren't working."
Falls over and his other eye pops out.
Oh.
But yeah, it's only a short little story, but it just properly killed me. And that's the story about how a selection of children stole a blind kid's bike over the space of 6 weeks.
Fucking hell. Ruthless.
Yeah. Have you got any funny stories, Shaun, from the past couple of weeks, or are you tapped out?
No, I thought you had 2 stories, so I didn't think of one for today.
Yeah, well, I felt a bit bad, like, having to tell 2 stories, but again, this one's only a short one. It involves Taru.
Of course.
Who, if you don't know who Taru is, my mum slapped his cock, I punched a post lady instead of him, and he introduced me to Bobby Belsnick.
And
So-
he's talked to great lengths on our previous podcast about cooking and eating babies.
Yes, he has. In our old podcast, he described the many ways he could...
There's a cat stood by my microphone now purring, if you can hear it.
I can't hear it myself, but I'm sure I can edit it out.
That's
Don't
all right,
worry,
I'll push
Shaun.
him off the chair.
So yeah, Taru is an enigma of a human being. He both looks like Jack Black, but also looks like no other human that's ever existed. He's like smoke and mirrors as a human being. He's a strange chap, but we love him for it. He's just great. And so me and Taru had this like ongoing prank war at work. It started sort of with Bobby Bellsniff, and then it moved on to like he would steal my stapler, or he would like take my locker keys so I couldn't get my bike lock sorted out in the evenings after work. And then I remember that I put glue on his keyboard, so his keyboard was just like stuck to his desk and he couldn't move it. And then I also remember a time after that he shrunk wrapped my car from like wheel to roof, like wrapped it in like 3 reams worth of cling film, and then got the heat shrink gun to like bond it to my car, and I had to like saw my way into my car. And he was really precious about his cycling shoes, and so I did something, Shaun.
Oh god.
So I super glued his shoes to a pallet. And then I pallet wrapped the pallet and then heat shrunk it, and then I paid £57 to TNT deliver his really expensive shoes to Inverness. Yeah, just I sent his shoes on a pallet to a car park in Inverness.
Wow.
Yeah. Now the thing is he was a keen, avid cyclist, non-tax-paying road user. Sorry, and yeah, he would cycle every day, and he needed his cycle shoes to cycle his bike because his pedals were just like 2 little like spikes. So they weren't like actual pedals that you put your foot on. They were just like basically like rods that his shoes would clip into. So he couldn't cycle for like 2 weeks until he got new shoes. And I forgot to put them on a return trip. So I literally just sent a pair of shoes to a car park in Inverness, and they're probably still there. They're probably still up there.
So and Zoe,
which will be bleeped out.
The first one. If you can find a list of car parks in Inverness and then go check them out, when you see one with a crate, if you could return the shoes
and just a pair of shoes glued to the top of them. Yeah. So yeah, that's the story about how I sent a pair of shoes to Inverness. Don't fuck with me. I'll send you shoes to Scotland. I don't care. I'll do it.
I think the worst I've done in a workplace was when I printed out the zoomed in picture of your face and put it everywhere around the branch.
Yeah, but the thing is, you didn't just zoom in and print off one, did you, Shaun? You printed off multiple.
No, there was about
like 30 of them.
There was about 50 Harrys around that branch, and it took about 2 months to find them all.
Stuck them in random places. And like I would open the cupboard to make a cup of tea, and there'd be like 7 pictures of me staring at myself.
I think the best one was that we had those. I can't remember what they're called. It's sort of like banners, but they're little triangle shapes. Bunting, yeah. We had bunting over, and I replaced one of them with a triangle cutout of your face, and it took ages for anyone to actually notice it. Yeah. Because no one looked at the ceiling.
We really didn't get a lot of work done there, did we?
Nah.
So we're going to end the show on our new bi-weekly segment. Entering Shaun again and again and again and again.
Wait, where did the agains come from?
Well, we're entering you again because we entered you 2 weeks ago, and we're now re-penetrating your brain.
I'm glad you said brain. The other place is bruised.
So let's talk about
the other place is bruised from that dildo lancer you came up with last week.
Let's talk about entering Shaun. Shaun, have you got a game idea for us?
I do indeed.
Hit me with it.
It's called Diminishing Returns, and
right,
it's basically a game. It's sort of like a game in reverse, where instead of having like more and more information and resources to complete each task as you like level up, you lose information and resources.
Sausages. Again. Okay.
You lose information and resources as you progress, so it gets harder and harder to complete each task. And not gonna lie, it's a bit of a sad way that I came up with this this game idea. It was pretty much, I thought of it when I was spending some time at my nan's when she had dementia.
Yeah, okay.
So that was it, diminishing returns. So you sort of lose abilities and that as you progress.
That sounds bleak as fuck.
Well, you don't have to actually have dementia in the game. It can just be I don't know, you lose stuff, but it would make it a lot harder.
So it's not like one of those games, like when you turn on Senua and it's like, if you suffer from psychosis, please don't play this. Like a blurb doesn't come up saying, if you play this, your brain might get
If you
fucked.
suffer from dementia, try and remember who you are before playing.
If you are reading this sentence and you can't remember reading this sentence, then don't play
Then
this
please
game.
reread this sentence.
So it's Dementia Simulator.
No, diminishing returns. I thought was a more pleasant name for it.
Dementia Simulator.
But I just thought it sort of flips your usual game design on its head because you lose stuff as you go along. You don't gain stuff.
I'm not going to lie, that's not as good as Senses.
Really?
Yeah, not a fan of that one.
See, I haven't decided what genre it'll fall into yet, though. That's the thing I'm struggling with.
In the wise words of Theo Paphitis and Duncan Bannatyne, I'm out. Not a fan of that one. I will not be investing.
But imagine playing Final Fantasy X and you're like blitzing it through.
And then as you get better at the game, it becomes harder and harder and harder to the point where you don't want to play it anymore. Yeah, that sounds really interesting, Shaun.
So you lose like your null spells with Luna.
No, I'm not investing in this opportunity. I'm sorry. No, that you're not having my money.
Who are you again?
That was my best Duncan Bannatyne impression, by the way.
That's great.
Yeah, no, not a fan of that one, Shaun. You'll have to do better when we enter you again.
Okay, I'll find another illness to draw inspiration from. Goldstone Journey.
Cancer Simulator 2021. So, what a bleak and morbid way to end this podcast. Me being massively, thoroughly disappointed in you, Shaun.
What, by a dementia game?
Should we end on some good news?
Yeah.
Buy our merch.
That's good news for us.
Buy our merch. No, I do have some good news, and the good news is that Duncan is returning to the show. We don't have an agreed date as of yet, but his life is sort of not quite as insanely bonkers hectic as it used to be, and we've been back in contact, and he really, really wants to tell some new stories and talk about games and stuff. And he may have an exciting announcement to make when he's back on the show, and you've probably seen it as well, haven't you, Shaun?
Yeah.
But we can't talk about it.
Nope.
I really want
Not
to talk
yet.
about it, but we can't talk about it. So, just want to say thank you to everybody for listening to the podcast again. All of our new listeners that we've probably turned away over the last 2 weeks. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your downloads. And I'm preemptively saying thank you for the award. Shaun, is there anything that you want to say before we go?
No, not that I can think of. I'll try and think of a better game design for next time. So I'll try and think of something
You
less
better, because that one was shite.
less morbid.
Less shit. Just think of something that's less not good.
In my head, I can.
All right.
I'm on the workings out. I can see it playing out pretty good, but it's hard to describe that one because you're losing stuff, and normally
Well, it's a game pass from me, Shaun. And on that, as always, keep on listening.
and keep on gaming.
And we'll see you soon. Cheers, guys.
Boy.
Yeah, mate, that game was more.